current races at Ellis Park would have been run at Churchill Downs if it hadn't been for the 12 horse deaths.
The puzzle does continue. It's a big head scratcher.
The move to move racing, even though training continues at Churchill, and nothing really has been found to be wrong with that track.
We have not identified any, significant issues at all with the surface.
Nothing obviously wrong, Dr. Will Farmer says, with the necropsies as well.
Yeah, as a veterinarian and as a scientist, I want answers.
Dr. Farmer is Churchill Downs' equine medical director.
It has been a very big challenge for everyone.
Who took the job after another very challenging time out west.
Did you ever think you were going to see this again?
Oh, no.
Santa Anita, 2019. 42 horses died at the track. At the time, Dr. Farmer was in the middle of it, working the Southern Circuit.
Santa Anita, Los Alamitos, Del Mar.
For the California Horse Racing Board.
In the moment, we were all very puzzled.
But since then, he says, they eventually put the pieces together.
Weather, track surface, and training.
Training to get up to speed is not as lengthy here as it is out there, where it's usually another furlong longer. On the streets, it's called tranq.
It's not for humans.
Because at the track, it's a horse tranquilizer.
Xylazine is a veterinary medicine.
The DEA warns the dangerous drug is showing up more and more across the country. And in the agency's own words, xylazine is making the deadliest drug threat our country has ever faced, fentanyl, even deadlier.
Xylazine makes the fentanyl more potent.
James Murphy is a doctor, as well as the co-director of the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition.
The opioids kill you basically by making you stop breathing. Xylazine can also kill you by lowering your blood pressure.
Dr. Murphy is adamant that xylazine is a growing factor in the public health crisis.
It's gotten to other parts of the country, and certainly it's gotten to Kentucky, and definitely our neighborhoods.
The state, however, doesn't seem overly concerned. In fact, when Focus brought up xylazine with the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet earlier this year, a spokesperson stated that the Cabinet's Office of Drug Control Policy deemed that the drug has not infiltrated Kentucky yet, that it is not widespread.
It's got to be here. It is here. It is prevalent, and this is an epicenter. And we are targeted by drug dealers.
We have a location that is extraordinarily damaged.
This posted short is a warning.
The next impact here, if we do not get this fixed, the vehicle will go right over the top, and it likely ends up down here.
Eimer says damaged and very compromised guardrails are often left unrepaired for weeks, months, even years.
This is no longer crash worthy. You've got to make a timely repair.
According to Google Street View, the guardrail has leaned, not fixed, since at least September 2017.
I've seen several that have been there for 15 years.
Unsafety guardrails, Eimers.
Oh wow, look at that damage.
Consistently points out.
But look, pocket, damage.
Are never really that far away.
That one's improperly bolted.
And this is just crossing
First one into Indiana. Boom.
Yeah.
It's improperly installed.
Crossing over into Indiana and pulling over in Clark County, Eimer says this turned down guardrail can send cars flying.
It is a ramp.
It's obsolete, and it's right across from an Indiana Department of Transportation compound. But just about a mile down US 31, Eimer spots what he considers to be a monster.
That one's Frankenstein.
It is?
I think so. Something's funky with it.
Frankensteining, like the classic character in the story, is put together with mixed parts.
This is really absurd.
Parts that don't go together.
This is like totally asinine. This is just, it's just nonsense.
A lot can be documented in 5 years. Added to a binder just getting bigger. 72-year-old Mary Spalding has been building her own case file.
Information that I compiled, emails and correspondence, pictures of my injuries.
As the case LMPD was building on her violent beating.
The skull fracture, upper body bruising, hand injuries.
Was going nowhere.
Both of my hands were crushed.
And which, she says, is now closed. Before work on December 17th, 2018.
I was going down to get socks.
Mary headed down the steps to the basement.
I got to the bottom of the steps. I guess that's where the first blow was taken.
Mary was hit over the head and then was bashed repeatedly.
And I heard pinging sounds. It led me to believe that I was being hit with something metal.
She couldn't see who it was.
Face down, like right in this area. And I was getting hit. And the thought came into my head to pretend to be dead.
Left for dead, Mary doesn't remember anything else until she came to about 2 hours later, she says. Bloodied and woozy, she made it up the stairs, laid on her couch, and then called her sister.
And I don't even remember, like I said, her calling 911. I don't remember the officers that were on the scene.
It's going to be a fall.
While other officers felt sure Mary fell down the basement steps, Detective Deidre Mangadote went to work.
There's a boot mark right here, a couple of them.
She pointed out the bloody shoe prints on the back steps, and she kept searching for clues, despite the officer with the body cam sounding convinced there were no signs of foul play.
Pretty obvious no one came out of that door. The leaves aren't disturbed, nor
Well,
are
there's a
they.
path. I mean, I can't rule it out. You can't keep persuading me to work this like it's not, because then I won't. And then...
She was all about it, absolutely. Repeatedly told my sister, I'm gonna get him.
Mangadote found the blood on the leaf outside the exterior basement door.
Okay, we're driving down his street now.
She also pursued a recent breakup of Mary's, going to his home on the day of the attack and then returning 2 days later to try to question him.
That's the trash. That's in the same position it was when we stopped by on Monday.
Mary says Mangadote, who she called Dee Dee, visited her every day in the hospital, but that stopped suddenly and sadly just days later.
With the officer trapped in the car.
The damage to her vehicle was catastrophic.
Christmas Eve, during a traffic stop on I-64 under the Belvedere, an MSD truck barreled into Mangadote inside her parked cruiser, killing her at the scene. The truck driver, Roger Burdett, was impaired at the time and was distracted, prosecutors stated, watching porn on his cell phone.
It was just devastating. It was devastating.
Mary's champion for justice was gone.
It feels like I'm battling 3 different traumas. The trauma of getting attacked, the trauma of the lead detective getting killed, and then the trauma of no one investigating the case.
Mary says she had to reach out to find out for herself who her case got transferred to. LMPD actually transferred the case twice.
Neither one of those sat down and did an interview with me.
So they were relying on what Dee Dee had put in there prior, but no questions they had for you.
Right. No questions at all.
Meanwhile, Mary questioned the handling of what she calls key evidence, such as the bloody shoe prints.
This was determined to be non-human blood. There's only 2 things. Either it wasn't tested correctly or I'm not human, because I know it's my blood.
Then there's the question of the video from a neighbor's security cameras. Mary says detectives never showed her the video of a man in the back alley carrying a white garbage bag. He was there around the same time Mary finally woke up from the attack and came up from the basement.
My kitchen rug was missing. I believe the weapon as well as the rug were in that bag.
Is it common sense that if you're a police officer and you're trying to identify a suspect, video or photos would be something you would show the victim?
Yeah, I don't know if I watch too much TV, but I would think so.
We tried to ask LMPD the same and specific questions, including why Mary's ex was never pursued further. LMPD offered only a statement, saying in part that LMPD detectives have taken her case seriously, working diligently to provide justice, that detectives and supervisors have repeatedly met with Miss Spaulding on numerous occasions, via phone calls and in person, to review the evidence with her and hear her concerns, that unfortunately there has not been sufficient evidence for an arrest.
Absolutely feels just like yesterday.
5 years since her attack and since the tragedy of Detective Mangadote, the two eternally bound together, as Mary's case was Dee Dee's last case.
She was determined she would have solved the case. My case died when she died.